With business in the US down from the recent numbers of the peak of the boom period, the WWF, as it usually did when domestic business trended downwards, went back to the still booming international market, with Raw back in front of another sold-out Canadian crowd in Edmonton. And with the usually hot Canadian crowds, in addition to strong numbers in attendance, also enhancing the atmosphere of the shows on television. 2 minutes into Raw, the building erupted with Chris Benoit coming out unannounced to a massive ovation in front of an hometown crowd to make his return after almost a year out with neck injury, with Benoit, which before the neck surgery last June took him out of the ring, was establishing himself as one of the top players in the company in a headline feud against Austin, getting a huge reaction from the Edmonton crowd resembling the recent Hogan ovations, with Benoit taking the response before acknowledging him being an exclusive SmackDown performer, saying that he was drafted by McMahon to SmackDown but was not gonna miss this Raw in his hometown, saying that he's just a few weeks away from being cleared to return to the ring, with Benoit for the first time in 10 months training in the ring in the past several weeks in preparation for his return in the company's HWA developmental territory, confronted by former Radicals member Eddie Guerrero, saying that Benoit always tried to hold him back but he's now been surpassed by Eddie, as the Benoit return segment with Eddie followed by Ric Flair coming out to kick him out of the building, opening Raw stronger than in the past 2 weeks with a 3.4 quarter and over 4.6 million viewers. Three days before the surprise Benoit TV return on the night, JR updated on his status on the company website, saying that he's set for another evaluation from Dr. Youngblood, who also did Austin's neck surgery in early 2000, with his official in-ring return full-time targeted for late June, with perhaps the most talked about part of the Friday Ross report being JR openly acknowledging the recent decline in numbers, saying that there's a lot of mixed reviews of the TV product recently, and several factors including the split rosters, unexpectedly high number of injuries and the economy all contributed to the recent slide, noting that the company needs to create new rivalries and elevate new talent, which they're currently working on both programs, with the promoted main event match for the Raw broadcast tonight taking another step in that direction, with Eddie Guerrero vs. Rob Van Dam in a ladder match for the IC title set to headline the show, and a massive opportunity to break through for both performers, coming with both already involved in recent high-profile feuds with Austin and Undertaker, including headlining the recent Raw House Show tour over the weekend, with the first Austin vs. Eddie match after the bar skit last Monday, along with Van Dam vs. Taker for the title, both headlining Saturday and Sunday, with curiosity to see how Van Dam vs. Eddie would draw in the main event spot on the night, with the rating can potentially be a make or break for both men's main event push in the near future, with Raw next seeing the first NWO match on the night after Nash put a stipulation on the group, with the next member to lose a match getting kicked out, with Booker and X-Pac going over the Hardys in 4 minutes. With the recent talk around the Tommy Dreamer skits designed for shock value while building up his new character, including being brought up in Vince's interview on the Bob Costas show last Thursday, Dreamer made his first appearance in front of the crowd to close the first hour, with him continuing the act in person by eating a hot dog from the floor, bringing out Undertaker to take things a step further, with Taker first giving Dreamer the opportunity to get out of the ring before offering him a title shot, with the gimmick which on the interview was compared to some of the acts on Fear Factor, seeing Taker telling Dreamer to drink a cup of tobacco spit, with the unusual segment showing intrigue to bump Raw over 700,000 viewers to the highest rated segment of the show for rating, and the only full quarter hour to enter the 4 rating range on the night. After setting up the match in an angle last Monday along with an added hype earlier in the night with the Bubba Heyman backstage confrontation, Brock Lesnar vs Bubba Dudley was placed in the top of the hour quarter, with Lesnar for the first time depended on to draw in the second highest profile spot on the show, as the quarter, which followed the strong pickup for the Taker Dreamer segment in an unusual timing, started with the first 3 minutes in a commercial break, with Lesnar and Bubba coming out at 10:04 p.m. to go back and forth for 6 minutes in the most competitive match in Brock's career to date, with him selling throughout, including Bubba having the match won near the finish, ending up with Lesnar going over after Heyman's interference with the 10 p.m. quarter, usually almost guaranteeing a viewership bump, instead seeing the quarter, which was hurt by starting and ending with 2 commercial breaks, with the Bubba-Brock match in the middle, dropping slightly with around a 100,000 viewers decline from the Taker Dreamer segment in one of the only times in years to see the top of the hour dropping to end up at a 3.9 rating, with Heyman, in addition to his new on-screen role as Brock's manager in the past 3 months while still being part of the creative team for most of the past year, getting a more focused role during the week, with Vince McMahon making the decision to split the creative team into 2 separate crews for the Raw and SmackDown brands, with Brian Gowertz set to head the Raw team while Heyman is set to head SmackDown, with both reporting to Vince McMahon for the final say in the pre-show production meetings, with the idea of going a step further with the roster split to give each brand's product a distinct feeling, with the company as part of the WWE rebranding campaign debuting its new 2-hour Saturday night block on TNN 2 days ago to strong numbers, with the debut of Velocity at 10 p.m. drawing a 1.1 rating, way above the recent average for the XS show, peaking strong with a 2.1 rating in the final quarter, featuring the recap of the Hogan-McMahon segment from SmackDown and the promoted Trish vs. Stacey match, followed by the debut of Confidential minutes later at 11 p.m. with major buzz for the show hosted by the returning Mean Gene and built around a Shawn Michaels shoot interview on the Montreal Screwjob, ending up with the new concept drawing even higher with a 1.3 rating overall, despite a later start time with the hyped segment, which saw Michaels admitting that he knew about the Survivor Series finish publicly for the first time, peaking Confidential strong with a 1.4 rating at close to midnight. With Van Dam last week temporarily winning the WWE title in the Raw main event against Undertaker on the same night that Eddie Guerrero entered a feud with Steve Austin, Eddie and Van Dam, with both looking to be elevated to the next level, had the opportunity to further establish themselves as top players, with them placed to headline Raw in a high-profile ladder match for the IC title, with the match which saw the entrances taking place as early as 10:38 p.m. with over 25 minutes left on the show, set to go through 3 quarters, with Chris Benoit coming back with a ticket to sit in the crowd 7 minutes into the match as a cliffhanger before the final commercial break at 10:48 p.m. Eddie and RVD, looking to capitalize on the spotlight with them for the first time, relied on to main event against each other with no other established headliner, matched expectations in the ring to deliver one of the most spectacular matches in Raw history, with both exchanging high spots throughout in a pay-per-view main event effort to go over 20 minutes of TV time in total in one of the longest matches in show history, with the match which had the disadvantage of starting lower than usual, with the previous quarter doing a 3.5 rating, picked up big throughout with over 900,000 viewers over the 20 minutes to peak at a 4.1 rating in the overrun, seeing Van Dam winning back the title to set up the post-match angle, with Austin finally arriving to the building past 11:04 p.m. to go after Eddie, Flair and Anderson just as Benoit jumped back in the ring, revealing the swerve to lay out Austin and turn heel on his first night back to set up the future Benoit vs. Austin program, originally talked about as an option for WrestleMania 18, with the background story of Austin injuring Benoit last June, as Raw, despite the unusual formatting on the night with the long match on top, remained at a 4-year low 3.7 rating for the second straight week.